All right, get ready to dive into some fascinating stuff about the JFK assassination.
Yeah, some really interesting theories and evidence.
Yeah, we're going deep today
Deep.
into Edgar F. Tatros, the Kennedy assassination's links to Here and Now,
Okay.
and Sim Kenninger's No Claim, No Motorcycle, No Microphone. The assassination films disprove the assassination tapes.
Oh, those are quite different articles.
Yeah, they really are.
Very different approaches.
Yeah.
Tatros is like a conspiracy thriller.
No.
It argues that America hasn't recovered from the assassination and the cover-up and all that.
Right.
Kenninger's is like street detective work.
Yeah.
He's using film analysis to debunk some of the, the conspiracy theories surrounding the assassination.
Right. So let's start with Tatro.
Okay.
He throws out this theory that what if the JFK assassination was not just a lone gunman,
Right.
but this massive conspiracy that's tied to other government scandals that we've seen throughout history.
Interesting.
And he starts with a pretty compelling case for multiple shooters.
Right.
Especially when you consider the eyewitness testimonies and the photographs from the grassy knoll.
Right. And if there were multiple shooters, then the next question is, who were they?
Right.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
He looks at the mystery of these 3 tramps
Oh, yeah.
that were arrested in a railroad yard.
Right after the assassination?
Immediately after the assassination.
Oh.
And they look totally out of place. And here's the thing.
Right.
There's no official record of their arrest.
Seriously? No arrest records?
No, it's like straight out of a spy movie.
That's wild.
It is. And Tatro even suggests that one of these tramps might have been Major General Edward G. Lansdale.
Wow.
Who was a high-ranking CIA figure
At the time?
and Colonel Prouty,
Okay.
who had worked with the CIA, actually claimed to have recognized Lansdale in one of the photographs.
Wow. So he's saying that a CIA figure
High-ranking CIA figure.
was dressed up as one of these tramps.
Potentially. Yeah, it's a bold claim.
Yeah.
But it's out there.
Does he have any evidence beyond just Colonel Prouty saying that?
Well, he goes even deeper than that.
Okay.
And this is where it gets even crazier.
Okay.
He draws a link between one of the tramps and a suspect in the MLK assassination.
Whoa.
Yeah. So now we're talking about 2 major events in American history.
Right.
Potentially connected by this mysterious figure.
It makes you wonder if these are just crazy coincidences.
Or if there's something more going on,
Yeah.
right? So then Tatro brings in Charles Harrelson,
Okay.
who was a convicted hitman
Oh, wow.
who claimed to have been involved in the JFK assassination.
So a convicted hitman is saying he's connected to
He says he was there.
the JFK assassination. Was he on the grassy knoll?
Well, he claims he was present at the assassination,
Uh-huh.
but he insists that he didn't shoot JFK.
Okay, so what was his role?
That's the mystery, right?
Yeah.
Was he just an observer?
Right.
Was he participating in some way?
Or just trying to insert himself into the narrative?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is crazy.
It's like something out of a crime novel.
It is, yeah. And so Tatro connects him to the assassination. How?
Well, he points out that there's this striking resemblance between Harrelson
Okay.
and one of the tramps in the photograph.
So he's saying that the hitman was one of the tramps.
That's what he seems to be implying. And get this.
Okay.
Right before Harrelson was supposed to meet with a JFK researcher,
Yeah.
he was suddenly denied visitors,
Uh-oh.
and he died in prison shortly after.
Wow. So they silenced him
Potentially, yeah.
before he could spill the beans.
It's possible.
Wow, that's spooky.
He is.
So where does George H.W. Bush fit into all this?
Well, Tatro highlights this suspicious phone call that Bush made to the FBI
On the day of the assassination?
on the day of the assassination.
Right.
And there's also an FBI memo that seems to link Bush to the CIA.
Back in 63.
Back in 63. Yeah,
It makes you wonder what he knew.
exactly.
All right, so let's just recap here.
Okay.
Tatro's theory is laying out this crazy web of connections.
Yeah.
Multiple shooters, mysterious tramps
Yeah.
that might be connected to the CIA,
Right.
a convicted hitman
Who says he was there,
who says he was there,
but didn't shoot.
and George H.W.
It's
Bush.
lurking in the background.
Yeah, this is mind-blowing.
It is.
And then he makes this really explosive claim about the bullets used to kill JFK.
Oh, yeah.
He suggests that they might have been purchased by the CIA.
That's a huge claim.
That's a massive claim.
What evidence does he have for that?
Well, that's where things get a little murky.
Okay.
He doesn't provide, like, concrete proof,
Mm-hmm.
but he raises enough questions
To make you wire.
to make you wonder.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a lot to unpack.
It is.
So Tatro is painting this picture of this huge, complex conspiracy
Yeah.
that reaches into the highest levels of government.
Right.
And organized crime.
It's a wild ride.
It's a wild ride.
Oh.
But before we get too lost in this web,
Yeah.
let's look at Kenninger's article.
Okay.
He's got a totally different approach.
Yeah.
He focuses on debunking this specific piece of evidence
Okay.
that a lot of people use to support the multiple shooter theory.
Right. He's a laser beam.
Yeah.
He's going right for a key piece of the puzzle.
Right. So before we get into that, can you remind us what the acoustic evidence theory is?
Absolutely. So basically, it claims that a motorcycle with an open microphone
Yeah.
accidentally recorded the sounds of gunshots coming from the grassy knoll during the assassination.
Right. And some people have used that to argue that there had to be more than one shooter.
Exactly.
Okay. So how does Kenninger go about debunking this theory?
He uses film analysis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he looks at the Zapruder film, the Altgens photo, the
Yeah.
Elsie Dorman film,
Okay.
all the key footage from that day,
Yeah.
and he shows that there was no motorcycle in the right position to have recorded those shots.
So he's saying that the motorcycle that everyone thinks captured these gunshots wasn't even there.
That's what he's saying.
Wow.
Yeah, and he backs it up with detailed analysis.
Okay.
He goes through it frame by frame,
Wow.
showing why the common narrative just doesn't hold up.
So he's like a cinematic detective.
Yeah, he's using the film to solve the case.
I love it. What specifically does he find in the films?
Well, his analysis of the Elsie Dorman film is really interesting.
Okay.
He uses it to establish what he calls a 6-second clock.
A 6-second clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he proves that Officer McLean,
Oh, is that?
who was the motorcycle cop that people thought made the recording,
Okay.
he couldn't have been where he needed to be to capture those sounds.
So he's using the film to create a timeline
Exactly.
that proves that the motorcycle couldn't have been there.
Right.
That's amazing.
It's really cool.
It's like film analysis meets history.
It is.
It's a powerful way to challenge those historical narratives.
Absolutely. And he goes on to examine the Robert Hughes film
Okay.
and the Dave Weigman film,
Yeah.
further solidifying his argument that there's just no way McLean's motorcycle was the source of that audio.
Okay, so he's meticulously debunked this key piece of evidence. But if it wasn't the motorcycle, then what caused those sounds on the recording?
Right. That's the big question.
Does he offer an alternative explanation?
He proposes this really interesting hypothesis.
Okay.
What if the shots weren't actually gunshots?
What?
Yeah, what if they were something else?
Like what?
Maybe a radio transmission or some other sound?
That got picked up by the recording equipment.
Exactly.
He's suggesting that the gunshots might not even be gunshots.
It's a possibility.
Wow.
Yeah, and he points specifically to the vice president's follow-up car,
Okay.
which was equipped with radios
Right.
and was in a position where its transmissions could have been picked up.
By the recording equipment.
Yeah.
Now that's interesting.
It's a hypothesis.
Yeah.
But it's an intriguing one.
It is. So we've got Tatro
Yeah.
weaving this elaborate web of conspiracy,
Yeah.
connecting the JFK assassination to organized crime,
Right.
to shadowy figures,
Right.
to government agencies.
Yeah.
And then we've got Kenninger meticulously debunking a central piece of evidence.
Right.
It's like two completely different ways to approach the same puzzle.
It is, and both of them are telling us, don't just accept the information you're given.
Right.
Question everything.
Yeah. Dig deeper.
Demand evidence.
Exactly.
Like they're saying, don't be passive
Like
about
it's-
history.
Be active. Be skeptical.
Get in there, examine the evidence, and draw your own conclusions.
I love that.
That's right.
I love that idea.
So what do you think so far? Are you leaning towards Tatro's vast conspiracy or Kenninger's meticulous debunking?
That's a good question.
What stands out to you as the most compelling evidence?
You know, let's let all this sink in for a minute, and we'll explore those questions in more depth in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good to me. Man, we have uncovered some wild theories and evidence about the JFK assassination.
I know, it's like a whirlwind of conspiracy and mystery.
And film analysis.
Right.
So Tatro's article reads like a spy thriller,
It does.
connecting the JFK assassination to organized crime.
And shadowy figures and government agencies.
It's a captivating story.
It is. But we do need to approach his claims
Oh, yeah.
with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Absolutely.
Like the whole Three Tramps thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's super intriguing,
Yeah.
especially with those missing arrest records
Uh-huh.
and the potential CIA connection.
Right.
But is Colonel Prouty's identification of Lansdale
Yeah.
really that reliable?
That's a great question.
Could it be a case of mistaken identity?
It's possible. I mean, it was a long time ago.
Right.
And memories can be fuzzy.
Yeah, and even if one of the tramps was involved in the MLK assassination,
Right.
does that automatically link it to the JFK assassination?
That's a big leap.
Yeah, it is.
And Tatro doesn't really give us a clear connection between the two events.
Okay, so let's talk about Charles Harrelson.
Okay, the hitman.
Yeah, he's like a character straight out of a movie.
He really is.
A convicted hitman who claims he was on the grassy knoll.
But didn't shoot JFK.
Right. So what was his role?
That's the big mystery, isn't it?
Was he just there to observe?
Possibly.
Or was he part of something more sinister?
It's hard to say.
Yeah, he's a real enigma.
He is. He definitely had ties to organized crime.
Right.
And his claims about the JFK assassination are definitely provocative.
What I find suspicious is that he was denied visitors right before he was supposed to meet with a JFK researcher.
Right, and then he dies in prison shortly after.
Almost like someone wanted to silence him.
It's possible.
Yeah, before he could reveal too much.
Yeah, like he knew something.
Right.
That someone didn't want him to share.
Yeah, and then there's the whole connection to Judge William Sessions.
Oh, yeah.
Who presided over Harrelson's trial.
For the murder of Judge Wood.
Right, and then Sessions became the FBI director.
Appointed by George H.W. Bush.
Wow. It's like every thread we pull unravels another tangled knot.
Another layer of the onion.
It's a web of connections that seem to lead back to the upper echelons of power.
It's a tangled web, for sure.
Okay, speaking of power, let's circle back to George H.W. Bush.
Okay.
His connection to the JFK assassination is a recurring theme in Tatro's article.
It is that suspicious phone call he made to the FBI.
On the day of the assassination.
Yeah.
And the FBI memo linking Bush to the CIA.
Back in '63, it's hard to ignore.
It makes you wonder what he knew.
If anything.
About the events surrounding the assassination.
Right.
Tatro really seems to be implying that Bush was more involved than he ever admitted.
Yeah, I mean, we have to be careful here.
Oh, for sure.
We're dealing with a lot of speculation.
Right.
Tatro presents some interesting evidence.
Yeah.
But we can't definitively say that Bush played any role.
In the assassination or the cover-up.
Yeah.
Right.
It's important to be objective.
Okay, fair enough. But it's definitely thought-provoking.
It is.
And then there's that bombshell claim about the bullet.
Oh, yeah, the bullet.
He had to kill JFK, possibly being purchased by the CIA.
That would rewrite the history books.
I know if that's true.
But again, we have to be cautious.
Of course.
That's a huge claim.
Right.
And Tatro doesn't provide any concrete evidence to support it.
Right.
We need more than just a claim.
Yeah.
We need verifiable evidence.
To back up such a significant allegation.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Tatro's theory is a wild ride.
Yeah. Full of twists and turns.
And tantalizing possibilities.
It keeps you on the edge of your seat.
It does. But let's switch gears now and go back to Kinninger's article.
Okay, back to the film analysis.
What I find fascinating about his approach
is
that he doesn't get bogged down in the who of the conspiracy.
Right.
Instead, he focuses on debunking this specific piece of evidence.
The acoustic evidence.
That so many people use to support the idea of multiple shooters.
He's very focused, and I think that's a smart approach.
Yeah.
He's really dismantling a core argument.
Right.
Used by a lot of conspiracy theorists.
And he does it so convincingly.
He does.
His analysis of that Elsie Dorman film is so impactful.
That 6-second clock is pretty damning.
Yeah, it pretty much eliminates the possibility that Officer McLean's motorcycle was the source of the acoustic evidence.
It really does.
It's like he's taking a scalpel to a tangled knot.
Carefully untangling each thread.
And revealing the truth.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a great reminder that just because a theory is widely accepted
doesn't mean it's true.
Exactly. We always need to be critical of the information we're given.
Especially when it comes to something as complex
as the JFK assassination.
Yeah.
What about his alternative hypothesis?
Oh, yeah, the one about the vice president's car.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea.
He suggests that the shots might have been broadcast
from the car.
From the vice president's follow-up car.
Yeah, which had radios.
Right, and was in a position
where the transmissions could have been picked up.
Right by the recording equipment.
Yeah.
That's a really intriguing idea.
It is, but it's still just a hypothesis.
Right.
We need more evidence to support it.
But it makes you wonder
It does.
if we've been misinterpreting the acoustic evidence this whole time.
Right. What if those sounds weren't gunshots at all?
What if they were something else entirely?
That's the question.
So we've got Tatro painting this picture of a vast conspiracy.
Right, with shadowy figures.
And government agencies pulling the strings. And then we have Kinninger.
Yeah.
Meticulously debunking a key piece of evidence.
Right.
Forcing us to re-examine what we thought we knew.
Exact.
It's like they're presenting two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, two different ways of looking at the same event.
But there's one element that they both seem to point to.
What's that?
The CIA.
Ah, yes, the CIA.
The intro directly suggests CIA involvement in the assassination itself.
Right.
And Kenninger's debunking of that motorcycle theory opens up the possibility.
That the shots on the dicta belt
Right.
could have come from a government vehicle.
Right. Potentially connected to the Secret Service or even the CIA.
Possibly.
It makes you think about the role of intelligence agencies in shaping events both then and now.
Right.
I mean, we were in the middle of the Cold War.
Right. A time of paranoia and covert operations.
Is it really so far-fetched to think that the CIA might have been involved?
In something as drastic as assassinating a president?
On American soil.
That's the question that's been haunting people for decades.
Right.
And while there's no concrete evidence...
To definitively prove CIA involvement, the circumstantial evidence
and the unanswered questions
are definitely fuel for conspiracy theories.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's the Warren Commission.
Right.
Their conclusion that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone has been met with a lot of skepticism.
It's from the beginning.
People felt like they didn't dig deep enough.
That they were too quick to dismiss the possibility of a conspiracy.
And their lack of transparency
didn't help.
Only fueled that suspicion.
Yeah, they weren't very forthcoming with information.
Right, and all those classified documents related to the assassination.
Yeah, why are so many files still kept secret?
What are they hiding?
It's like the government is unintentionally feeding the conspiracy theories.
Right.
By being so secretive.
If they were more transparent.
Maybe there wouldn't be so much speculation and mistrust.
Right.
Transparency is crucial.
Yeah, especially when it comes to events
that have such a profound impact on the nation.
The JFK assassination shook America to its core.
It did.
And those unanswered questions.
They continue to erode trust.
In government institutions.
Absolutely.
Okay, so as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we've explored Tetro's intricate web, linking the JFK assassination to all these political figures.
Right.
And scandals.
And we delved into Kenninger's meticulous film analysis.
Right.
Debunking the acoustic evidence theory.
And we've examined those lingering questions.
About the CIA.
About the CIA's role in the events of that day.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
Right.
So as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I want you to think about this. What stands out to you as the most compelling piece of evidence? And how does this event continue to shape our understanding of political power and government transparency today?
It's amazing, isn't it, how two articles can look at the same event in such different ways?
Yeah, it really is.
And yet both of them leave us with so many questions.
Yeah, more questions than answers.
It's like we're putting a puzzle together, but...
Every time you put a piece in, you find another layer?
Exactly. And what I find really interesting is that both of these articles, despite their different approaches, they both seem to point to the CIA.
Yeah, that's right.
As a potential player in all this.
Like Tetro suggests a direct link between the CIA and the assassination.
He even says that the bullets might have been purchased by the agency.
That's a big claim.
Yeah.
And while Kenninger doesn't explicitly implicate the CIA, his debunking of the motorcycle theory opens up other possibilities.
Yeah, like what if those sounds on the dicta belt weren't gunshots from the grassy knoll?
Right.
Where did they come from?
Exactly.
Could it have been a transmission?
From a government vehicle?
Right. Maybe even one connected to the Secret Service.
Possibly.
Or the CIA.
That's a question we can't just ignore.
Right.
We need to investigate that further.
Yeah. And it just brings us to this bigger question.
Yeah.
What was the role of intelligence agencies back then?
Right.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
We were in the middle of the Cold War.
A time of intense secrecy.
Right. Covert operations.
Yeah. Is it really that far-fetched?
To think that the CIA might have been involved in something as drastic as
assassinating a president
on American soil.
It's a terrifying thought.
It is.
But it's also kind of intriguing.
Yeah, and there's no smoking gun.
No.
There's no irrefutable evidence to prove CIA involvement.
Right.
But all this circumstantial evidence and unanswered questions, it definitely keeps the conspiracy theories alive.
It does.
And let's not forget about the Warren Commission.
Right.
Their conclusion that Oswald acted alone. A lot of people were skeptical from the start.
Yeah, they felt like the commission didn't dig deep enough.
Right, and they were too quick to dismiss
the possibility of a conspiracy.
And then there's the lack of transparency.
Yeah, that didn't help.
It fueled the suspicion.
It did. They weren't very open.
With information.
No.
And then there are all those classified documents.
Right. So many files still kept secret.
What are they hiding?
That's the question, isn't it?
It's almost like the government is feeding these conspiracy theories.
By being so secretive.
Right. If they were just more open and honest,
maybe there wouldn't be so much doubt.
And suspicion.
Transparency is so important.
It really is. Especially when we're talking about events.
That had such a profound impact on the nation.
The JFK assassination was a traumatic event.
It really was.
It shook America to its core.
And those unanswered questions, they continued to erode trust in the government.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into these two articles, what are the key takeaways you think listeners should keep in mind?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is don't just accept the information you're given.
Question everything.
Yes, question everything.
Dig deeper.
Demand evidence.
Be skeptical.
Absolutely.
Petro encourages us to think outside the box.
To look for connections.
That might seem far-fetched.
Yeah.
But even if we don't buy into all of his theories, he makes us think critically.
About the bigger picture.
Yeah, about the forces that might be at play.
To mind the scenes.
And Kenninger reminds us
to be meticulous.
To really scrutinize the evidence.
With a skeptical eye.
He shows us that even widely accepted theories
can be debunked
when we take a closer look
at the facts.
I think both of those approaches are essential
to understanding history.
We need to find that balance between skepticism and open-mindedness.
Absolutely.
Be willing to consider different perspectives.
And always demand evidence.
The JFK assassination is a reminder that history is complicated.
It's not always black and white.
There are more questions than answers.
And the search for truth is never really over.
Well said. I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Into the JFK assassination.
Fascinating stuff.
We've explored some incredible theories.
We have.
We've delved into the evidence.
We did.
And we confronted the mysteries
that still surround this pivotal event.
And before we go, we want to leave you with this. What resonates most with you?
What piece of evidence?
What theory?
What unanswered question
stays with you?
We encourage you to keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
Keep seeking your own understanding of this event.
Thank you for listening.